Do you see it, Bert? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh.
Oh, Abel, one other thing to note, our oath of office for our new commissioners is scheduled before the roll call tonight as well. And it looks like our city clerk, Beatrice Flores, is on the call as well and ready to do that whenever you're ready to start.
Nice, awesome. Thank you, Beatriz.
Hi. I think I need one more. What's his name?
I think we're missing
Frank
still.
Barba.
Yep. And we have a couple minutes still
Okay.
also.
And if I can have those members who are going to be sworn in, turn your mics and your camera so we can see each other. It's Noe, Ibarra, Araceli, Campos, Vanessa.
I'm here, I'm Araceli.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, Noe. Nick, do we know if Frank is attending?
He should be. I spoke with him through email earlier today.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get a hold of Frank
Okay.
just to see what his status is. All right, he is working on logging in.
Okay, good. Nick, do you want me to continue waiting or go ahead and start?
He said that he would be on if he joins and you've already finished the swearing in. Will he not be able to participate in the meeting as a commissioner until he is sworn in?
Yeah, he can participate, but he can't take action. Like he wouldn't
Okay.
be able to vote.
Okay. Why don't we wait one more minute and
Okay.
then we can figure out a plan B if he doesn't join.
Okay.
Thanks for everybody's patience. All right. Dee, do you want to just go ahead and get going? I don't want to hold you up all night either.
Okay, he hasn't shown up yet?
I don't see him in the list of panelists or attendees, no.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be swearing in Vanessa Quiroz Carter, Araceli Campos, and Noe Ibarra. If you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. You can unmute yourself. We can hear you. Noe, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So I state your name,
I, Araceli Campos,
I, Noe Ibarra,
Hi, Vanessa Quiroz Carter.
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend.
that
that
I
I-
will support and defend.
You can do it at the same time.
Okay,
That I will support and defend
That I will
support and defend
the Constitution of the State of California
the
The
Constitution
the
of the
Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of this, oh, I'm sorry, I already said that, against all enemies,
against all enemies,
enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and
domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will return faith
and
faith,
allegiance
allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution
Constitution of the United States and
and
the Constitution of California,
State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this
this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without
any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or
or
purpose,
purpose of
evasion.
reservation,
and that I will well and faithfully
And
that
that
I
I will
will
well
and
and
faithfully
faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the
discharge the
duties
duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone. It's always good to have new members, fresh faces, new ideas on the board. And thank you, Beatriz, as well for your time and getting us sworn in. All right, well, let's officially get down to business and call the February meeting of the Parks and Community Service Recreation Commission to order with the roll call vote, please. Sorry, with the roll call.
Araceli Campos,
here,
Vanessa Quiroz Carter,
Present?
Brendo Cencion,
Here,
Jessica Carrasco, Abel Sanchez,
Here.
Noe Ibarra,
Here,
Frank Barba.
Thanks, Marco. All right, moving along in our agenda, I'm going to ask everyone to please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So next up in our agenda is oral communication. Before we get to that, I believe we have a small presentation to the public of our communications, or how you can communicate with the commission.
Thank you, Abel. So for tonight's commission meeting, to reduce the spread of COVID-19, members of the public are encouraged to join the meeting today from their homes using the Zoom link or through our Facebook Live, through our Facebook page, Parks and Community Services. Here are the different methods to join our meeting tonight. So you can join with your laptop PC, your iPhone, or you can dial in and hear the conversation and also join in. Also is our web webinar ID here. So we have enabled panelist gallery view to ensure the public can view all panelists during the meeting. For the public to take advantage of this feature, please click on the view options and select side by side on the top of your screen. We will also be displaying a timer window so that people know how much time they have to speak. And you will also have the ability to display your camera when you speak. So if you want to, please let me know and I will enable your camera. For the commission discussion of agenda items, the commission will receive a report from the staff. Commission recommended action is outlined on the staff report and on the agenda. The commission will ask clarifying questions. The chairperson will call for public input on each item. Public questions will not be responded to during the meeting. Upon closing public input, the chairperson will ask for a motion from commission for discussion and further deliberation. Commission member instructions. So the chairperson will call on commission members in a rotational order to ask clarifying questions. Commission members wanting to speak may signal so by raising their hand. After clarifying questions and public input, the commission will be able to continue discussing the items upon being called by the chairperson, also in a rotational order. Instructions for public input. Members of the public will have 3 minutes to speak on any item not on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. This is normally held during oral communication. So they can speak about anything that's not on the agenda. The public will also have 3 minutes to address the commission during public input for each agenda item. The Parks and Recreation Commission Secretary will announce time for public input during each item. Public members, please enter your full name in Zoom. Let the secretary know if you would like to enable your camera when you first start speaking. Announce your name and address. Minimize background noise, please. Pay attention to the timer displayed on the screen. To raise your hands, if you're on a computer, click the raise hand at the beginning of the public input. It'll be at the bottom of your screen. The secretary will unmute your microphone and allow you to speak. If you're joining us by phone, you're not able to unmute your phone unless you have raised your hand. And to raise your hand, you would have to push *9 on your phone, and then you'll be able to speak once called upon. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. That was a really good explanation. So yes, so after our Pledge of Allegiance, now is the time for the public to make comments if they do have any specifically on items that are not on the agenda. As we progress through the agenda, there will be time to talk about specific items. But is there anyone from the public that would like to speak at this time on an item that is not on the agenda? I don't believe we have any public with us today, but I just wanted to make sure that opportunity is presented. So now moving along, we have the oral communication from the commissioners. Is there any, now the commissioners, we have an opportunity to discuss any hot topics, any events that happened this past month that are related to our jurisdiction, which is parks, community services, and art. Is there a commissioner that would like to speak in this moment? Brando?
I was thinking, I was like, what happened? And I want to say super stoked to see Santa Claus driving around in the neighborhood. Saw him a bunch of times when I was working at Slice Project. I saw the fire truck like going back or leaving. So I know he was going somewhere. And I know a lot of people like posted it on social media that I had followed. They were like, oh my God, this is so like awesome. So yeah, that was really cool. And I'm glad that had happened, especially during COVID and, different holiday this year, but that was really cool to see. And I'm glad the community liked it. I would assume they liked it. I can't see anyone being like upset about that, but that was just really nice. So good job, guys.
Thanks, Brando. Anyone else? I would like to say that I really enjoyed the plaza lights, the lights that we have in the plaza. It's kind of strange because it's kind of a given, you know, it's happened for so long that it's just, you know, it just happens, right? But there's a lot of effort that goes into it. So thank you, you know, Parks Community Services for doing that and for being so consistent all those years. I know it's something that I, you know, personally look forward to every December, and along with other people as well. So thank you for that. And then also welcome again. Welcome to all the new commissioners. We're really excited to have you on board. It's going to be a good year. I can feel it. And we're all going to, you know, move together, make this city a better place. And I'm just really, I'm really excited for everything that Nick has planned and his team, you know, for us this year. So with that, you know, next we have our director's report.
All right, thank you, Abel. I want to echo Abel's sentiments in welcoming our brand new commissioners. Welcome again, Vanessa Arceli and Noe to the commission. It's great to have you here. Super excited to have you on board and to have a full roster of commissioners once again. I also echo Abel's sentiments in that I think 2021 is going to be a great year. And if nothing else, it's going to be better than last year. So I think the bar was set pretty low last year, and we've got some great things planned this year. So looking forward to accomplishing a lot of things with the brand new commission. And we'll talk quite a bit about those plans as we get through the agenda this evening. Do have a few things to share with you this evening, though, as part of my report. As all of you know, the governor's stay-at-home order ended a few weeks back, which was really, really good news, I think, for everyone. What that means for us in Parks and Community Services is that the RV park at Pinto Lake is back open once again. That was I think pretty much the one piece of our operations that were closed due to the stay-at-home order. But now that that's lifted, that's open once again. Over the holidays, one of the other things that transpired, at least at the state level, is that the state of California finally released a reopening plan, or at least some guidance on the provision of youth and adult sports. So now we at least have a plan for how to move forward with starting things like our restarting programs like our soccer league and our adult basketball, volleyball, and softball leagues. So what the state has outlined is basically which sports can open once we get to the different colored tiers. So now that we're back in the purple tier, there are some kind of individual sports that can restart. So things like swimming and swim lessons, outdoors, running outdoors, tennis lessons, and so forth. So we are working with some of our contractors to restart some of those programs again. So we're finally kind of headed in the right direction as far as that goes. It's not until we get to red that we can start our softball league again, and then really in orange is when we can really start moving again. So soccer comes back online in the orange tier, along with at least outdoor basketball, volleyball, and whatnot. So we have quite a ways to go, I think, before we're able to fully offer those programs again. And even when they are able to be offered, they'll still be run with modifications. Because the way that the order is written, they still require masks to be worn by all participants and social distancing to be adhered as best as possible. And there's some guidelines on how far away teams can be that you can play and how far you can travel and so forth. So it's going to be a challenge as we start to reopen those programs. But again, at least we've got a means to do so and can really start thinking about what that looks like and put plans into place. So we're working on that. As far as our youth programs go, our Excel in Place program is back in motion. We started back up with the start of school through PVUSD back in January, and are running, I think, 5 or 6 different sites, similar to what we were doing in the fall. So again, if you're not familiar with our Excel in Place program, what that is it's a distance learning and enrichment program. So we have pods of 12 to 14 young people in different locations with stable groups of teammates, and the youth that participate in the programs receive support with distance learning in the mornings until the end of the school day, and then they participate in enrichment activities in the afternoon. We've got everything from sports to arts and crafts to field trips and all of those types of programs that look somewhat normal in our after school programs, at least for those individuals. So we're excited and happy to continue partnering with the school district and with county parks on that program. So that's continuing. A lot of our other program areas, like our older adult programs and rentals and special events, are still pretty much on pause, at least in the normal sense. As far as older adult programs, our Senior Center Without Limits program continues to be very, very popular. And Community Bridges, who's our main partner for that program, was able to secure an additional grant to help pay for additional tablets to be able to be distributed to older adults throughout our community to help them connect to our large menu of virtual classes. If you haven't had a chance to check out that program, it's really, really neat. You can find it on our website, and we partner with the cities of Santa Cruz, Capitola, along with the County of Santa Cruz. And basically what we've done is we've just aligned all of our virtual class schedules for older adults. So basically, no matter where you live in the county, you can attend any of the classes offered by any of those jurisdictions at no cost. And if you need help accessing those classes because you don't have a device that can connect to the internet, we can hook you up with a tablet to use and to keep. So we have these Amazon Fire tablets that are paid for by Community Bridges that we're distributing to seniors. We're providing tech support to help people get them all set up as well. And we do have some information too about reduced internet services for those that need that. Our library also just recently secured some mobile hotspots that they're able to loan out for set periods of time. And so we're pushing that information out to our seniors as well. That's a brand new program that they just started, I think last week or so. So it's a good thing to know about as well. As far as our events go, I appreciate all the great feedback on our Santa tour. It definitely was a lot of fun, and we received a ton of great responses from the public, from social media posts to people just, thanking us on the streets as we come to their neighborhoods. We had quite a few people that we passed by that were like literally in tears of joy as we brought Santa through their neighborhood. So it was a lot of fun. We are in talks with the fire department about possibly making this event an annual event. Because it was so well received as well, and maybe just condensing the timeline and condensing the routes. But one of the silver linings with COVID is that it's really forced us to do things differently and think about how we offer services in different ways. And I think this program is one good example of one of those successes. So we'll talk more about that as we get further into this year and start making plans for the holidays. We were really excited also to be able to put the lights up in the plaza again this year. There was a point in time when we were canceling all of our events that we thought that we weren't going to be able to do that, but we were able to kind of reverse course and allow funds to be brought back into our budget to be able to make that happen. So that was a really good thing too. Just a couple other things to mention. Our pump track is just about finished. We've got probably about 3 or 4 more weeks left of construction as the Mountain Bikers of Santa Cruz add in the final landscaping touches to that facility. And then we've got a virtual ribbon cutting ceremony that's planned for the beginning of March. And we'll open that facility up officially to the public. So if you haven't driven by Ramsey Park recently, I'd highly encourage you to do so and just check it out. It's really, really neat. And I think it's going to be a great addition to the park, and also a huge new recreational opportunity for people of all ages in our community to take advantage of. The last kind of a more announcement type thing that I wanted to mention is, as you all know, the Parks and Rec Commission made a recommendation to the council about the placement of our George Washington bust back in November, and we've been working with the council to get that on their agenda in February, but it looks like we're running into some scheduling issues with one or two of the council members. And so I'm hoping that we don't have to move that item. I know our public is kind of chomping at the bit to get that discussed at the council level, so we can kind of close the book on what we're doing with the bust. I wanted to give you that update as well. I'm just waiting on final kind of scheduling notice from our city manager's office and our city clerk's office to figure out whether or not we'll move forward in February or if it's going to get pushed into the next month. I personally would love to get that to the council sooner than later to wrap up that piece. The final thing that I wanted to mention is that at the end of last year, we started a brand new program with our team called Star of the Month. And we, on a monthly basis, are taking nominations for our team to nominate other teammates to be our Star of the Month. So it's kind of like an Employee of the Month type program. So I did want to highlight some of our recent Stars of the Month. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. So for the month of November, our Older Adult Services Supervisor, Katie Nunez, was nominated as our very first Star of the Month. Katie obviously oversees our senior center along with all of our older adult programs. She actually just joined our team back in March, and her first day at work was literally a week and a half before the world shut down and the senior center closed and everything just got kind of turned upside down. But she's been a huge trooper. She's just adjusted like none other and has really been a huge asset to our team. She is actually the wizard behind the curtain for our Santa tour as well. She planned the whole events and coordinated everything with the fire department and our whole team and with Santa Claus and created all the maps and made it all happen. So she really is a huge rock star. For the month of December, we have Tino Rodriguez, and he's from our parks team. He is a park maintenance worker too, and oversees a large number of our parks kind of on the eastern side of town. So he has Franich Park along with some of the other parks kind of in that neighborhood and area. And he's been with the city for quite a long time. Always goes above and beyond in terms of his duties. He's oftentimes one of the last people back to the yard at the end of the day and really takes pride in his work. So his teammates, or our teammates, nominated him for the month of December. And finally, for the month of January, I think most of you know Gino. Gino is our recreation specialist in our youth development unit and oversees, in normal times, our summer camps and after school programs and helps out with the youth center. But over the past several months has taken one of our lead roles in our Excel in Place program. He personally oversees the management of 3 of our Excel in Place sites, along with our contract with the school district to run our school district sites, and has just done an amazing job. The Excel in Place program has been a program like none other, and we've had to make adjustments all along the way due to different restrictions and so forth, and Gino's just kind of ebbed and flowed through all of that. And we've had a lot of teammates that as can be expected, have been out quite a bit throughout the program due to sicknesses or potential exposures and so forth. And Gino, has to kind of jump in and get into the programs and actually run them firsthand whenever is needed. And he has just taken it like a champ. So wanted to share those with you. Each month, as part of my director's report moving forward, I'm gonna pull these up also and share our stars of the month. So that concludes my report, and I'll hand things back to Abel.
Congratulations to all of our STAR employees. We really couldn't do what we do without them. So each and every single one of them are a crucial part of that, and we're definitely thankful for them. All right, moving along. Now we are in number 5, consent agenda. I'm looking for someone to approve the consent agenda and a second on that one.
All motion for approval.
Thank you, Brendo. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Campos,
Present.
Quiros Carter,
Present.
Ascension,
Yes.
Carrasco, Sanchez,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Barba.
Thank you. Moving along, we have new business now. So once a year, around this time,
Abel, can I
we-
intervene?
yeah, of course.
Could we get a yes or no vote from Araceli Campos and Vanessa Quiros again?
Yes.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
And yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, yes, so nomination for the Parks and Recreation Commission Chair. Once a year, this comes up to discussion again around January, February, once we have the new commissioners, if we do have any new ones joining us, get an opportunity, you know, to discuss and to choose the chairperson for the next year. So I am going to ask for a nomination. Do we have somebody that would like to make a motion to elect a chairperson for this year? Okay, I would like to share with the team that I've been serving as a chairperson these past couple of years, 2 years now. Definitely enjoying it, and I would like to continue to be the chairperson of the commission, if you guys are okay with that. And
With
if-
that being said, I will nominate Abel.
Okay, thanks, Brando.
Okay, you do good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Araceli. Do we have any discussion? Anything we would like to, anything else we would like to mention? If not, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Abel, real quick, we do have people in the audience. Do you want to open up for public comment?
Okay, perfect. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment? All right.
Doesn't appear so.
If there is none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Campos,
Yes.
Quiros Carter,
Yes.
Ascension,
Yes.
Carrasco, Sanchez,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Barba.
Perfect. Thank you, Marco. Next, we have the vice chairperson. Again, this is one of two positions. If for whatever reason I cannot attend one of the meetings, the vice chairperson is typically the one that would step in and lead the meeting. And then something that I do want to do this year as well is to kind of sit down. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit down with them, but definitely train somebody to guide them so that they can be prepared. So anyone that is interested in potentially being a chairperson, kind of have this as a 1-year trial period, right? Just to kind of see, to get any questions and kind of get a feel for it. So is there anybody that would like to serve as vice chair for this year? Or do we have any comments? If there is none, I would like to nominate Brando to serve as vice chair. I think he has experience on the board. He's been on the board for a couple of years now. And I think, yes, Brando, you have a comment? You're on mute.
1 year, sorry.
Okay, well, I might be rounding up.
It feels
but,
like.
but yes, no. So that's who I would like to nominate and put out there. Is there a second, or does anybody else have a nomination? Okay. Any comments?
I'll say thank you. I mean, I'll definitely I'll accept that nomination if anyone wants to second it. But yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, so do we have a second? Someone who can, someone who agrees?
Well, I don't know if I could motion my nomination, but yeah, if someone wants to motion it, and then we can get a second for sure.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Noe. All right, so we have the first and the second. Do we have any comments from the public? Do we have any comments from the commissioners? If not, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Campos,
Yes.
Quiroz Carter,
No.
Cencion,
Yes.
Carrasco, Sanchez,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Barba.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that. Moving forward, we have Nick, who's also going to talk to us about the Parks and Community Service Strategic Plan update.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen again here. Okay, can everybody see this colorful matrix spreadsheet here? Okay, so just to take things back a step and kind of preface this. So I think as our older commissioners know, or our commissioners who were on the commission last year know, that our city council adopted our 2020 Parks and Community Services, or Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan, back in February of last year. And that strategic plan included a master plan for both the City Plaza as well as a master plan for Ramsey Park. But the strategic plan also helped to define our kind of long-range goals for the departments into the next 5 to 10 years. So what it did was it took our Parks and Recreation master plan that was developed back in 2010 and brought the goals that were identified in that plan up to kind of 2020 standards and helped to kind of arrange things so that it gave us some actionable items that we could work on over the next 5 to 10 years. And it also involved a process that involved a lot of community input. We had a large survey that we put out to the community and held, like close to 10 meetings with members of the community over a period of 6 to 8 months to ask for input on the overall plan as well as on the master plans for the 2 parks. And what we ended up with is, in terms of the strategic plan, are 3 main goals for us to focus our efforts on moving into the future, to really kind of move the needle on a lot of the big, larger goals that are identified in our plan. One of the kind of downfalls of our 2010 master plan was that although there were some great goals that were identified, it really didn't give us a path forward to help us achieve those goals. And so what our strategic plan does is it kind of brings things down to ground level and helps us year by year develop goals that we can realistically achieve to work on moving the needle on the goals that are identified in this plan. So there are three main goals outlined in our action plan. The first goal is outstanding parks and facilities. The second goal is impactful programs. And then the third goal is one high performing team. And so I'm going to start at the top and kind of take things line by line. I know there's a lot of text to look at here, but I think it's important to kind of go through each of the objectives in each of these goals, just so that the commission has a good sense for what we're working on over this next year and where we're headed into the future. There are goals that aren't listed on this plan that you have in front of you tonight and is also included in your agenda packet. And that's because we've targeted some of the action items in this plan for future years. And so this plan really focuses primarily on what's happening in 2021 and what we're focusing our efforts on this current year. So the first objective under outstanding parks and facilities, which again is goal number one, is prioritizing the core. And it really has to do with prioritizing the deferred maintenance needs of our park system along with our existing recreation facilities. One thing that I think we all know kind of inherently is that our parks and facilities are in need of a lot of maintenance and upkeep and renovations. The city's budget for a long time, especially through the recession, wasn't in a place that enabled us to invest in our parks and facilities and really be able to renovate things as needed or fix or replace items as they kind of met the end of their useful life. What that's left us with is an almost $20 million deferred maintenance list from everything from the need to replace roofs, to renovate bathrooms, to fix turf on fields, and replace playgrounds and so forth. One of the prime examples of that list that I like to use all the time is the fact that at Pinto Lake Park, which you can see behind me in my background, there used to be a playground that was kind of right off the water's edge. Some of you may remember that playground. There was kind of a big sand pit to the right of the dock with a play area. And unfortunately, about 5 to 7 years ago or so, that playground fell into such disarray that the whole playground was just removed completely, and there weren't funds in the budget to replace that playground. And so that park now sits without a playground. And there's a lot of other examples like that across our system where things kind of deteriorated to such a point where they just had to be removed or haven't been able to we haven't had the funds to kind of fix them and get them into good working order. And in our department, it's really a big belief that our community deserves better than that, and I think we all agree on that. And so what this piece of the plan really is it sets the priority for us to focus on those needs first, on getting what we have in our inventory today kind of up to par before we move to working on creating new park spaces and that sort of thing. So that's what you'll really see here under this section. The action items under 1.1 have to do with developing an inventory of all of our deferred maintenance needs and conducting a physical accessibility evaluation of our parks and facilities, and then working with the city team and with finance to make sure that those projects are budgeted in our capital improvement program year over year. And then one of the specific projects that's listed under here is to complete the Bridge Street Medians restoration project that we're slated to finish off in the next few months. We're going to kick the third and final stage of that restoration project off in March. Going to jump down to 1.3 here, which has the next actionable item. So 1.3 has to do with developing joint use agreements with PVUSD and other sites. One of the big goals of our Parks Master Plan from 2010 and our 2020 strategic plan is to increase park spaces. But again, like I just mentioned in 1.1, because we have such a huge deferred maintenance list and our needs are so high, we're really challenged with kind of creating new park spaces and building new parks, because that means more maintenance, and it's hard to justify creating new spaces when we have such a long list of things that need to get done in our current facilities. So one of the big strategies to increase accessible park space throughout our community, park and playground space, is to work with organizations like the school district to make sure that our community has access to existing fields and playgrounds in particular. And so we currently have a pilot joint use program with PVUSD that I think some of you are aware of, that has allowed us to open up EA Hall, Radcliffe Elementary School, and Solo Elementary Schools for community use outside of school hours. So what that means is right now with COVID, because those school sites are engaged in distance learning, and in some cases have students on campus that have high needs and need to work in person with instructors. Those 3 school sites are open in the evenings after 5 o'clock and on the weekends for public use. And so those playgrounds and those field sites are open to the public, which is I think a huge accomplishment that we made last year, and kind of big strides that we were able to make with that pilot project. I think, as many of you know, our school sites have been closed off to the public for a long time on nights and weekends, and haven't been accessible to the community. So it's a big step in the right direction. We're continuing to work closely with the school district to kind of work out the kinks through this pilot, with the hopes of being able to open up additional school sites and hopefully all school sites in the near future. And that will really basically double the amount of open space and parks that our community will have access to if we're able to make that happen. Moving on, and feel free to jump in and just ask questions at any point. I know I'm kind of moving quickly, and there's a lot in this plan. So if you want to ask questions in between, you're more than welcome to do that. I'll also kind of pause after each main goal area to check in to see if there's any questions along the way. So 1.4 says expand and improve access and connections to parks, open spaces, and community destinations. The first action item in that section has to do with developing and implementing our citywide integrated pest management system. And we are just about wrapped up with our work with a consultant to develop our internal kind of recommendations and updated policy for integrated pest management, or IPM. What that is, for those of you that haven't heard of that term before, is it's really a policy that guides our use of pesticides and insecticides primarily. So it really kind of outlines how we deal with pests overall. So pests as in bugs that eat the plants, or rodents, or gophers, and that sort of thing. And our policy kind of guides our work and helps to inform what we can and can't do, and what our kind of mediation efforts are as we look at mitigating pests throughout our system. So we're almost done with that. Continue to develop urban greening projects and implement our urban greening grant at Ramsey Park. Some of you may know that we have a grant from the state of California for a little over $1 million that is helping to implement part of our Ramsey Park master plan and improve access to the park and throughout the park. So that the new bike lanes that are on Harkin Slough Road right next to Ramsey Park were paid for partially by this grant. And the remaining funds on the grant are going to help to provide an accessible walkway that you'll be able to get kind of from the Main Street side of the park to Harkin Slough. It's a huge improvement because that doesn't exist currently. I mean, there's no sidewalks through the park, and if you want to walk from one end to the other, you're walking through parking lots and through areas where cars drive and that sort of thing. So that's going to be a huge improvement at that park. Develop and implement urban forestry projects, including a tree inventory and planting systems, and an urban forest management plan is also on our list. We received a grant from CAL FIRE, as you can see in the notes there, to help us with that project. The second piece of that is that we'll also be working on a new tree ordinance that will help kind of guide the city's work in maintaining our kind of like older or historical or old growth trees throughout our community, which are super important to kind of just the greenness of our community, but also help with carbon sequestration and keep our community cooler and just look nice as well. So that's all coming in the next year or so. 1.5 refers to funding for our high priority projects, namely the City Plaza, Ramsey Park, sports fields, and down the line, hopefully an indoor gymnasium. So focusing primarily here on our master plans for the City Plaza and Ramsey Park, and have just a couple of updates here. In terms of the City Plaza, we are reapplying for a grant to the state of California that's due in March to implement the full build out of our master plan for the plaza. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We got some good feedback from the state in the last round, and are hoping that we're able to be successful with this next round of funding. We're also in contract with a company to install the new permanent restroom in the City Plaza. It's been on order for quite some time. However, it's coming. So it's a prefabricated restroom, and it's coming from New Zealand. There's been some major delays in fabrication of those restrooms due to COVID. So the hope at this point is that it will be installed and ready for use or by the summer of this year. There's also going to be a great opportunity to wrap that new building in some kind of mural or art piece as well. So in the next few months, we'll be releasing a call for artists to find an artist who'd like to put their art over the 4 exterior walls of that building. Jumping over to Ramsey Park, we talked quite a bit about the pump track earlier, so I won't go into more details about that. But in other kind of good news that we heard over the holidays, we asked the state of California to be able to use our Prop 68 per capita funds for the build out of a new dog park at Ramsey Park that's also included in our master plan. So a lot of really exciting things happening at both of those parks, and we're making some progress in implementing those master plans for both of those spaces that were adopted in 2020. We've got some exciting things coming along the line very shortly in all of those spaces. So before I go to goal number 2 and talk about programs, does anybody have any questions regarding anything that I went over in goal number 1?
Yes, Chair Guidos Carter has questions.
Thank you. I had a question. So the pilot program, there were 3 schools that were listed. I think I heard EA Hall and Soldo, and I'm not sure what the third school was. I just wanted to know what the third one was.
Yeah, the third one is Radcliffe Elementary.
Radcliffe, thank you.
Yep. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I'll move on to goal number 2, which again is impactful programs. So the first objective under goal 2 is to create a public art program that highlights Watsonville's cultural heritage through the community and in parks, trails, and recreation programs. So as some of you know, we worked on implementing phase 1 of our public art program. Gosh, was that, I think it was in 2019, I think is when we actually kicked that off, or the very beginning of 2020. My mind's kind of a blur before COVID at this point. But this year we're going to be working hard on implementing phase 2 of our public art program. So if you recall, phase 1 really dealt primarily with public art that is installed on properties that are not owned by the city and that are not on public property. Phase 2 focuses solely on art that is commissioned by the city or in some way paid for by the city and will be placed on public property. So Adriana is working hard on the development of that policy, and we're also working on developing a funding mechanism for public art as well, so that once we have a policy in place, we actually create a revenue source that can help to pay for the installation of new art throughout our community. So that's another exciting project that we'll be working on throughout this year. We're hoping to be able to get that policy in front, that policy and the funding mechanism in front of the commission, hopefully by the summer, before we take it to the city council. The next objective, 2.2, has to do with our special events. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of those events are kind of on hold for now. So most of the activities under 2.2 are kind of on hold due to COVID. We are continuing to kind of have discussions and talk with our community partners, though, about financial stability for special events and how those are funded, and how to work with other organizations to kind of continue to make those events viable and impactful to our community. 2.3 speaks to developing and fostering partnerships with a whole slew of different partners throughout the community and throughout the county. The first couple action items have mentioned about working closely with our police departments, primarily through the Police Activities League, but also in partnering with the police department to engage residents in other community safety programs. Some of the activities that we were working on with the police department prior to COVID, or actually a lot of them have kind of been put on hold, but we are following the recommendations and the discussions that are happening through the ad hoc committee on policing and social equity very closely, and anticipate that we'll be working with the police departments in the coming months as that committee starts to make recommendations, and we start to kind of really figure out where we're headed with that work. So more on that to come. Item C, we're continuing to partner with PVUSD on community access to the Mello Center, and helping to facilitate use of that facility. Again, another item that's for the most part on hold at this point, but we're continuing to work with the district and the JPA on future plans for use of that facility. We will be over this next year also working on kind of revamping our city volunteer program, along with implementing a new Adopt a Park program that will give community volunteers the ability to adopt a park and help us kind of maintain and be stewards of individual parks throughout our community. Let's see here, engagement with regional partners such as county parks and county health and so forth. That's kind of an ongoing effort, and we've actually done a lot more of that through COVID. You know, these kind of strange and wild times have really forced us all to work more closely together, and you know, there's some great examples of ways that we partnered with other organizations that we haven't in the past, and to do really neat things. You know, I've talked a little bit about some of those things already tonight, but some, I think, great examples include our Excel in Place program, again, working with the school district and with county parks, along with our Senior Center Without Limits program that we have in partnership with all of the cities in the county, along with Community Bridges. Item G, the last action item in this block of action items, has to do with partnering with healthcare agencies to plan and implement health-focused programs. And the big exciting kind of action item or big program that we're working on currently with County Health, along with Sutter to begin with, is what's called a Parks RX program. So what that is we're working directly with healthcare professionals and care providers to basically include information about our programs and parks in their healthcare kind of software system. So basically, kind of what happens is as a patient kind of comes to see their primary care physician, if it's determined that they could benefit from increased physical activity because they are, maybe overweight or have high BMI, or have diabetes or some other ailment that they could, again, benefit from physical activity from. Their doctor can actually prescribe them through the medical system to use our parks and participate in our programs. So we're really, really excited to be working on that. We're hoping to be able to launch that at least with Sutter and PAMF by April of this year. And the hope is that we'll kind of use Sutter as kind of our pilot program, with the intent of expanding to Kaiser and Salud and other healthcare providers throughout our community as well. So that's a real exciting one. That's been on my list of hopeful things to do for quite some time, and we're making some progress in that area as well. 2.4 has to do with creating a community that values youth by fostering developmental assets. So this is the section that kind of speaks primarily to our youth development programs. So the first item here speaks to working with community partners to lead the developmental asset movements and engage youth serving organizations in implementing the asset model. What this is it's a focused conversation that we're leading with the Pajaro Valley Community Health Trust, along with Community Action Board, to really gather all of our youth serving organizations under one framework for youth development. The intent here is really to organize our youth serving organizations around kind of one model for youth development, so that we are all really focused on kind of speaking the same language when we talk about what the outcomes of our programs are. We have so many great organizations in our community that provide youth services, but in a lot of ways we're very disjointed, and a lot of times compete for resources. So we all kind of compete for the same grant opportunities. We compete for space and even compete for youth to participate in our programs. And what this model is intended to do, or hopefully will do, is get us all kind of to realize that we are all working for the same thing, namely being the success or the future success of our youth in our community. And if we can get everybody aligned with that mission and speaking the same language and kind of describing the way that we do that one simple thing in the same ways, the thought is that we'll be way more successful together, and we'll hopefully be able to better coordinate our resources more cohesively. So that's been an ongoing conversation with PV Health Trust along with CAB, and we're continuing to kind of gain momentum in that effort, and we'll hopefully make some progress on that this year. We've continued to lead the coordination of youth programs across city departments as well. So I talked about the last action item about the need to kind of align our youth serving organizations across the community. There's a need to do that within the city as well. So we're working closely with our library, along with Public Works and police and fire, that all have youth programs as well, to kind of better coordinate our efforts in that area. A lot of these other items are on hold for now due to COVID. We had plans to kind of revamp and revise our overall strategy for youth development programs, and that's still kind of happening in the background, but the implementation has been pushed off, obviously, as we focus primarily on Excel in Place. Our Youth Action Council, unfortunately, is on pause due to COVID right now, and along with kind of efforts to really increase the number of youth programs, because we're still limited on what we can actually do right now. Our case management services through PVPSA are continuing though, and have continued to operate through COVID. So that's an ongoing program. The last one here just speaks to kind of developing a plan for our sports unit. And like I mentioned earlier, we are working on the reopening of our sports programs, and we'll continue to do that as COVID allows us to. Let's see, the last section of goal number 2 has to do with older adults, and although the senior center is closed, we are continuing to work on our designation as an age-friendly community and work on developing an overall action plan and strategic plan for older adult services. The idea behind this, I think I briefly mentioned this earlier, is that the senior center, kind of is the hub of senior services throughout our community, and the goal is really to kind of take the senior center to the next level and make sure that it is a place that older adults look to when they need resources or want to find programs and whatnot. But really, what we're trying to do is kind of expand our thinking around our services and kind of think beyond the four walls of the senior center, so that as we think about the needs of older adults, things will kind of be, or our programs will be based out of the senior center, but really we're talking about kind of enveloping services throughout the entire community and making sure that they're offered in places where seniors need them, if that's what the case may be. So we are in the middle of creating a survey that will go out to older adults starting in the month of March, to really kind of assess what the overall needs are of our seniors and what those top priorities are, so that as we reopen the senior center and reopen our senior programs, we've got a good roadmap for where we need to go and how to better serve that population. Okay, any questions on goal number 2? I see Vanessa's hand up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the survey, how that survey is going to be dispersed, especially with technological challenges that older adults might have, if there's a plan on how to get that out to those older adults.
Yeah, definitely. So the survey is going to be available in both digital format as well as kind of hard copy format. We'll push out the digital survey to as many older adults as we're able to, and that have access to technology through things like our Senior Center Without Limits program and other means. But we're also going to rely heavily on a lot of our community partners that work directly with seniors, especially now through COVID, because like in normal times, our senior center would be open and we'd see 50 plus seniors that come through the doors every day that we could easily survey in person. But a lot of the kind of senior serving programs, especially meal and nutrition programs, are continuing through COVID. And I think that is going to end up being one of the best means for us to get that paper survey into people's hands. So one of our main partners is Meals on Wheels, and they're serving a really, really large number of seniors now through COVID, more so than they have even in the past. So as they deliver meals to seniors, we'll work with their drivers to get those surveys into the hands of people, and then hopefully get those back once they complete them. We also work really closely with Gray Bears, and they distribute food at our site every Friday, and also do at-home deliveries, and we'll also kind of rely on them to get surveys out to people as well. So I think those are a couple examples of some of the ways that we're going to get those surveys out. We're continuing to meet with all of our partners on a monthly basis as well, and have been brainstorming other means and ideas to get that survey out to folks.
Nick, I have a quick question in 2.3. So partner with PVUSD to position the Melo Center as the South County's premier venue. Are we considering anything local? Like, I know I've gotten a ton of questions about like poetry slam nights and stuff like that. People really kind of want a stage and look for a stage. Are we considering anything like that? Or is it going to be kind of more of a prime venue for, like, let's say a play where people pay and stuff like that? Or is it kind of freely used and accessible to community groups that practice in the arts?
Yeah, I think it really could be both. I mean, I think the goal from the revenue and financial standpoint is to really drive revenue there and get some of those bigger performances, like you mentioned, that sell tickets and charge admission. The challenge that we have with the Melo is just like many of the other facilities that we own as a city, you know, there's a long laundry list of deferred maintenance needs at that facility. Everything from lights to the sound equipment to the curtains and the seats and the carpet and whatnot. I mean, there's millions of dollars in deferred maintenance needs there too. And so like those revenue-based performances will hopefully help to bring money back into the facility that can be used directly to replace some of those things. But our agreement with the school district, now that we've kind of shifted over this past year through COVID, allows us as a city access to the facility also, to be able to promote and host events like you're talking about as well. You know, it could be, you know, free poetry slam nights or movie nights or lectures or kind of events like that once the shelter in place restrictions get lifted. We will have the access to the facility to be able to kind of do things like that. That we either kind of run ourselves as the city or help to kind of co-sponsor as they're put on by other groups if they're open to the community for free and really kind of provide a greater community benefit. So I think there's opportunity for both. You know, the goal for both the city and the school district really is to make sure that use of that facility is maximized. You know, I think most of us know that for a long time the facility's kind of been seen as inaccessible because it's been really expensive to rent, or you know, there's been other barriers that I know a lot of community groups have mentioned, you know, from insurance to really just figuring out like who do we talk to get a reservation on the calendar. And so we've been working closely with them to really try to clear up a lot of those things and provide better access to the community. I think our current agreement with them, and that we as the city have kind of direct access to the city for a set number of weekends and a set number of weekday hours, will help to facilitate more of those, more of that kind of free community event use.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, I'm gonna move on to our third and final goal here, which again is one high-performing team. So this last goal really speaks to kind of the overall organizational effectiveness of our department, as well as our fiscal stability. So objective 3.1 has to do with developing sustainable funding sources to help fund the implementation of this strategic plan along with our master plans, and take care of deferred maintenance and kind of fund our priority projects. So the action items here speak to advocating for funding through our capital improvement plan and through grant programs to fund our high priority needs. This next year, in item D here, has to do with revising our park and lieu fees to grow the park development fund. So what this is, for those of you that don't have a background on this, is whenever developers come to our community to build something new, whether it's, I mean, primarily kind of commercial uses, but we do get some funds also from residential development as well. These developers pay into what's called our park development fund, and it's based on kind of the size and scope of projects. And so the money that gets put into that fund is really intended to build new recreation facilities throughout the community, with the idea that, you know, as our population grows, because we're building out new housing developments and whatnot, there's a need for an increase in kind of like park and recreation facilities as well. So that's what those funds are for. The fees haven't been updated in quite some time, and so on our list this year is to get those fees revised so that hopefully year over year more funds come into that fund. Because development kind of moves a little bit slow, and we don't see you know, kind of a whole lot of growth in our community compared to other communities. We see somewhere between, on average, about $150,000 to $200,000 a year that gets deposited into that fund, and definitely a lot. I mean, during slower economic downturns, we see a lot less being added to that pot. So our fund doesn't grow very fast, which is kind of unfortunate. But I think revising our fees will help us some. Just to kind of give you a sense of kind of the like how much things cost and where we're at today. That fund has a little bit over $1 million in it today, which kind of offhand sounds like a lot of money, but it goes really fast, right? So like to install a new or to build out a new kind of state-of-the-art playground costs somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000. The renovations that we would like to implement at the soccer field at Ramsey Park is looking at, you know, kind of more like $3.6 million. It kind of goes from there. So that money, I mean, is useful to us, but it doesn't go as far as you would think it would go and hope it would go. But again, revising those fees will help us definitely. The next action item has to do with really supporting our friends of Watsonville Parks and Community Services and our recreation advocates to help increase their effectiveness in raising funds for financial assistance for our programs, as well as helping to eventually raise capital dollars that can also help with our larger ticket items that are so much in need. The second objective says balance cost recovery with community access. Some of these items are also on hold, such as kind of developing our cost recovery policy and plan. But we are working on some revisions to our facility rental program and fees that we're hoping to take to council in the next couple of months. We're also working on implementing an operations plan for Pinto Lake Park. I think that our commissioners that have been around for a while, I think, know that we last year released a request for proposals to find a new concessionaire to operate that park. And we have identified a new operator that is scheduled to start running the show out there in April of this year. So we'll be working through that transition in the next few months as well. The last section here under this goal really has to do with building our team, our internal department team, and getting us to a place where we're innovative, responsive, and dynamic as an organization and as a team. Most of these goals that are listed here are ones that our team kind of worked on together to really define what we want to look like and be as a team. So there's some items about kind of broadcasting positivity and, you know, really planning strategically for the future, improving our communication, and then spending some time revising our policies and procedures internally as a department. So we're doing some work on that as well. So I think a lot of those items are kind of more exciting for us as a team than they are maybe for the public, but there's a lot of work I think kind of that needs to get done to make sure that we are functioning as one high-performing team. So I think that takes us, just a couple of other things here. Clearly defining roles and expectations is just another internal action item. We're working on revising all of our job descriptions and are planning to get those to the Personnel Commission and to council in the next few months as well. So that's everything for goal number 3. Any questions about goal 3 or anything else on the plan?
I have a couple of questions, somewhat related to it all. I know it's a lot. Thanks for kind of going into detail. That was really nice. My question is specifically about Measure Y and those funds that are coming in. How we're designating them. Would it be spread out across different programs, or are we going to focus in the biggest need, or how are we as a department using those funds?
Yeah, great question. If you would have asked me that question before COVID hit, I would have a whole different answer. But again, I mean, I think another example of how things have kind of gone sideways with COVID. So with Measure Y, we get 8% of revenues that are collected by the city for that tax measure. And again, it's a half-cent sales tax measure implemented by the city and approved by the voters. So Measure Y was just adopted and approved back in March of 2020. Literally, I think like a week and a half or 2 weeks before we all shut down due to COVID. So we barely had a chance to even celebrate the fact that that passed and that new money was coming to our department. But COVID and the recession has also affected how much revenue comes in from that tax measure as well. Before COVID and the recession, we anticipated that our department would be receiving somewhere in the ballpark of like $320,000 a year initially from the tax measure. For this fiscal year, we budgeted $208,000, and it looks like it's tracking a little bit higher than that. Our finance director is going to be presenting the council with our mid-year kind of budget status update in a couple weeks. So we'll get a better sense for where what that fund is actually looking like. But before COVID, we were really planning on using those funds to increase the amount of money that we were spending on deferred maintenance, as well as start some new youth programs. We had intended to expand the hours of the youth center and reopen that facility on nights and weekends and really kind of focus on kind of middle school and high school age programs in the kind of late night evening hours, especially on the weekends, to really hopefully give or provide our young people with more things to do in those times. And unfortunately, due to COVID, the youth center is closed for its normal programs, and we haven't been able to implement those things as of yet. So we've really been focusing those funds on our deferred maintenance needs primarily through COVID. So we've been working on kind of maybe not so exciting projects, but things that are much needed. So things like resurfacing tennis courts. A lot of our needed playground repairs are also being funded through Measure Y right now. And I think the hope is that as we reopen up programs and whatnot, then we'll kind of shift where those funding dollars go to get back to some of the goals that we had hoped to use the money for beforehand. We have a meeting or an update meeting with the Measure Y Oversight Committee scheduled for next week, and we'll be talking more with them about where we're at today and how we've used the funds so far. But again, we're talking about a little bit more than $200,000, which I think definitely is helpful to us, but there's a need for so much more.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? Comments or questions from the public?
It doesn't look like we have anybody else in the audience anymore.
Okay. So, and this is just informational, correct? There's no action that we need to make this item?
The recommendation was to accept the report. You could technically take a roll call on it or get a first and second to accept the report, but it's not completely necessary, I don't think.
Okay. Well, now let's do it. Let's make a motion to accept the reports that Nick just presented to us. Do we have someone that can help us make that motion?
I motion that we accept the director's report.
Thank you, Vanessa. Do we have a second?
Nick, sorry to interrupt. I have a question.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Frank is here.
Do I have to get sworn in before I vote?
You do, yes. Thanks for the question. I didn't realize you were on the call because I was sharing.
Yeah,
my screen.
I couldn't get in with my other account got locked in to get into Zoom.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you can participate in discussion. You just can't officially vote at this point. But what I'll do is, I was talking with B kind of offline. I'm going to let her know that that you're available right now. And what she can do is she can email you a separate link from this meeting right now, and she can swear you in kind of while this meeting is taking place. So that way, when you rejoin, you can vote.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, I'll text her right now.
Okay. So we got a motion from Vanessa. Do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Second from Brando. Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Campos,
Yes.
Quiroz Carter,
Yes.
Sención,
Yes.
Carrasco, Sanchez,
Yes.
Ibarra.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick, again for that detailed report. Moving along, now we have the Parks and Recreation Commission work plan, which I believe Nick is also going to talk.
All right, just working on sharing my screen here again. And just as a side note, Frank, I just texted B and just look in your email for an appointment or a link from her, and she can get you set up and sworn in. Okay. Here in front of you again to talk about the annual PRC work plan. So now that we have had kind of a long discussion about the different priority areas of our departments, now is kind of the exciting part in the meeting where we can talk about how you as commissioners might be able to help with the implementation of our work plan as we move throughout this year. So if I can get to the next slide here. Okay, so the recommendation is to develop and adopt an annual Parks and Recreation Commission work plan. When we've done this in the past, it's usually taken us at least a couple of meetings to get through this item and kind of have discussion on it and land on a final work plan, which I think is fine. And I kind of envision a similar process this year too, as we kind of work through the motions of this. But just to kind of recap the overall Parks and Rec Commission responsibilities, this is directly from the bylaws for the commission, along with from the city charter. So the purpose of the Parks and Rec Commission is to formulate and recommend to the council and city manager a Parks and Recreation program for inhabitants of the city, which will contribute to the attainment of the general education and recreational objectives for children and adults in the city, promote and stimulate public interest therein, and to the end solicit to the fullest extent possible the cooperation of school authorities and other public and private agencies interested in therein. So long story short, the Parks and Rec Commission is kind of tasked with making sure that we have a robust recreation system and facilities that help facilitate those programs as well. And part of that duty, I think, is to kind of help us with the implementation of our overall work plan. So the process that the commission used last time around that we did this was basically to kind of adopt this idea of developing a work plan. And in that the first quarter of each calendar year, the commission kind of proposes and discusses potential projects and desired outcomes based on kind of the interests of our commissioners and what we feel or what the commission feels like are the biggest areas of our work plan that they'd like to kind of provide support in. So the projects should support at least one of the council's goals, the council's strategic plan goals, which everything in our work plan really does because we've developed a work plan that kind of supports the council's goals and supports parks and recreation related services and facilities. And then once we have suggestions from the Parks and Rec Commission on what areas they'd like to kind of help support or provide support in, then we as staff would evaluate the efficacy of those items and whatever monetary resources or staffing resources might be required to help support those projects to figure out how feasible they are as we add those to the work plan. So we'll assign our kind of estimated staffing resources required for any projects that the commission comes up with. And then we'll bring that back to the commission for discussion as we kind of finalize the work plan. So as a note, any projects that require kind of moderate or significant resources that we don't already have included in the budget or on the work plan, I think we'll just have to have a discussion about like how we make that work with everything else that we have on our plate, along with the financial resources that we have. And then we'll work towards assigning commissioners to lead the implementation of those work plan items and achieve the desired outcomes. And then once we kind of wrap up all of the details of the plan, then we'll come back and adopt the annual work plan. So this is just a sample that we used last time around to kind of show what this work plan could look like. I think instead of showing you this though, I will show you the work plan that was adopted. Can you guys see this? I just exited the PowerPoint and okay, there's a Word document up now. So this is the actual work plan that that the commission adopted and then revised again in 2020. I've kind of updated the dates here so that we can use this as a working document as we work through this evening. But this will give you an example of what the kind of goal is as we work to develop a work plan. So I use the first project here as kind of an example, just for conversation, and then we can kind of start the discussion of whether or not we want to continue with these projects or if we want to kind of develop new ones and assign new people to be leads on them. So the first project that's listed here is to develop a public art program and policy. We have listed here in this column the council strategic plan priorities that action supports, along with the staffing resources that are required. There's some desired outcomes that we identified with the commission as well. So for this one, it was to support the planning and development of a public art program and policy and provide recommendations on the program and policy drafts. The commissioners that were assigned to this were Commissioners DeWorkin and Carrasco. And then there's a column for status as well. So you can see here that we worked with those two commissioners on the development of phase 1, and then are working through the steps to develop phase 2. We had originally planned to get that done in late 2020, but as I mentioned before, we're looking at the summer of 2021 at this point for that as well. Would it be helpful if I explained through what the other projects were that were listed from last year for the new commissioners? I think I see some heads nodding. I'll do that. So the second project that the commission identified last year was to develop a citywide integrated pest management policy. So I talked a little bit about that when I talked about our action plan. Abel was the commissioner on this, and I'm not sure offhand how much he's heard from Ben, our parks manager and assistant director, on the development of that plan, but I think if nothing else, we'll get you the next draft so you can take a look at that, Abel. Our PCS strategic plan implementation, we had a small subcommittee working to provide inputs on that. We had worked on trying to schedule a meeting prior to the holidays and had some scheduling conflicts and unfortunately weren't able to meet to get that going. We also, for project number 4, had a PRC social committee that was led by Brando, that also kind of got derailed due to COVID, but the idea there was to provide some opportunities for commissioners to kind of better engage with each other and get to know each other without violating the Brown Act, of course, but at least have, kind of provide some opportunities for folks to get to know each other a little bit better. We also had an events subcommittee that met several times over the past couple of years to provide input on our special events and kind of generate ideas to add to existing events and improve events and whatnot. Had a lot of great discussions and had some good plans to move into 2020, that of course also largely got derailed due to COVID, unfortunately. And then our final subcommittee was our outreach subcommittee, headed by Commissioner Carrasco, and she and I had worked on a meeting to discuss several ideas, a lot of which, of course, also got derailed by COVID. That being said, I think there's quite a few of these work plan items that are here that have kind of been put on pause, and so I'd recommend that maybe we take a look at some of those and figure out whether or not we want to move some of those out and replace them with other things, or just move them out completely as we develop our next work plan. I'd be happy to take any questions. I think also what might be helpful is if we kind of look at this work plan side by side with the strategic plan and kind of identify if there's any specific areas that the commission is interested in helping to work on and further our efforts on. And with that said, I'd be happy to take any questions. Oh, and I just heard back from B, Frank, and she just emailed you a link.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? I think my question, Nick, for you is, yeah, given the challenges that we've had this past year, would you say that some or all of these are still possible to complete and work on this year?
Yeah, I think most of these are possible. With the public art one, we definitely are going to make some progress in that arena over this next year, and so I think it would be great to continue to have a small subcommittee of commissioners that we can lean on and ask for feedback directly from as we develop the policy and the funding mechanism, so we've got some folks that we can run that past before we bring it to the whole commission. The integrated pest management policy, we're pretty close to wrapping that one up, and so it probably makes sense to take that one off since we're almost done with that piece. The strategic plan implementation, I think could or could not be on this work plan. We've pretty much internalized that document and are really using that as our working action plan. And my goal is to provide updates to the commission on a more regular basis on the status of where we're at with that plan. So I don't know if that one is necessarily needed moving down the line either. With the PRC social committee, I think that's kind of up for discussion. I mean, given the situation with COVID, a lot of those efforts would probably be focused on things that we can do online without gathering in person. I don't know how effective that is or if that's of interest of the commission at this point, but definitely could be something that we talk about. The event subcommittee, I think could be worth having continue as we start having conversations about or continue conversations around what do our events look like in this weird COVID time, and then what do they look like once we start to open up as well. So that's one that could continue, and that the outreach committee could continue also, because I think that's always a need of our department to figure out how to better reach our community, how to better market our programs and brand ourselves as well. So again, I think the ones that could come off are number 2 and number 3, possibly number 4, but the other 3 I think have could remain on and I think have good potential to continue work on.
Okay. And then if I remember correctly, the last time we adopted, or we've actually seen this work plan a couple of times, but we also provided input, right? We, as commissioners, brought up certain topics that we wanted to address. And I think specifically, the social committee, that was one that we brought up. So we do have a couple of new commissioners. I don't know if they have any ideas currently, but would this be something that we could also bring up in a couple of months as well, as you know, we can get more experience and more meetings, something can pop up and we can bring it up as well.
Yeah, but most definitely. I mean, I think the intent of the work plan is for it to be a working document that we review at almost every meeting. And of course, we can make adjustments along the way based on current priorities and needs.
Okay.
Knowing also that we have a lot of new commissioners on the call tonight. I mean, you could put off identifying new work plan items until next meeting if you want to give people a chance to think about it, or we could kind of start the discussion tonight and add and subtract, and then just continue the conversation next time as folks have a chance to learn more and think a little bit more on this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I will leave that up to the commissioners to see whether they feel comfortable in or feel strongly in a specific project that they want to work on, get to know a little bit better, or if they would need a little bit more time to think about it.
Yeah, I want to kind of second that. And also, like, for example, like Commissioner Carrasco's isn't here tonight, and I know she really likes art. So I think it'd be kind of like unfair to be like, and I also want to get to know the other commissioners and know their strengths, because they might also be artists, or there's something that they're particularly passionate about. So it'd be nice to kind of just have a idea of where the group sits and what are some of their strengths and interests, so that we can then even update the work plan and maybe create new projects within them and scrap out old ones, and kind of appropriately place ourselves in the spectrum so we can continue doing great work.
Perfect. Sounds good. Any other comments? Thoughts from the commissioners?
Sorry, just to interject again. I think Frank is still on the call, but Frank, again, B emailed you the. Oh, wait, do you guys see him here? I don't see him. Did we lose him?
No, he's no longer.
Okay. All right. Never mind then.
Okay. So if we feel comfortable with that, then let's do that. Let's look at this list. Let's think about it. Let's see what we would be interested in focusing on this next year, and then come back at our next meeting and have talk in a little bit more detail as to what areas we can focus on. Does that sound good? Okay, perfect. All right, let's do that. And then finally, the last topic on our agenda today is the Parks and Recreation Commission liaison assignment. Again, with Nick. You're on mute, Nick.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen one last time here. Just give me 1 second to cue that up. Okay. All right. Sorry, it wasn't being nice to me and didn't put it into presentation mode, but that's okay. Okay, so this is another topic that's kind of similar to our work plan development, and another kind of program that our commission adopted about a year and a half ago. So this is the establishment of commissioner program liaison appointments. And the recommendation is that the commission appoint commissioners as liaisons to key service areas of our department. So the purpose of this is really to give our commissioners an opportunity to obtain a more in-depth understanding of our operations, kind of from the ground level. So an understanding of these operations of key areas of our department that will kind of really empower our commissioners to provide informed and relevant feedback and policy recommendations for our different services. It'll hopefully give our commissioners additional learning about their assigned or opportunities to learn more about their assigned service areas by hopefully kind of visiting facilities or parks or programs that are assigned to them. and engaging with the teammates and community members that participate in those programs to kind of really hear from the people who are benefiting from our programs and from our teammates who are working in those programs. And then kind of giving you all an opportunity to report back on those assigned areas during our meetings on anything that you find relevant and want the rest of the commission to know. So again, it's kind of an opportunity for you to kind of delve a little bit further into our programs and kind of move from being behind the Zoom screen or from behind the virtual dais and really kind of get more involved in our programs and services. So what we did last time around is you know, forgive me also because I think we kind of lost sight of this through 2020 with a lot of our programs closing down and not being in operation. But I think my hope is to be able to bring this back. So the last time we looked at this, we assigned 2 commissioners to be liaisons for our Parks Division. And what that basically means is that the hope is that those commissioners that are assigned to Parks really just kind of spend some intentional time visiting our parks, observing what they see there, you know, possibly talking to any of our parks teammates that they see out there, or talking to members of the public to get their kind of general thoughts and feelings about use of the park, you know, asking people about things that could be improved and so forth. And it's kind of the same concept with these other program areas that are listed here as well, that you know, each commissioner that's assigned to these different areas, again, just kind of spend some intentional time in these programs and experiencing them as a customer, but also kind of getting information from other users on their experience as well, so that you kind of come with a more informed background of how those program areas work as you make recommendations as commissioners. So the process would be that we kind of establish which key areas we want liaisons for in our operations, and then appoint which commissioners kind of serve as liaisons to those key service areas. And you know, the recommendation is that we consider things such as interests and expertise and you know, any conflicts of interest that there might be as we walk through that. Here. And again, the recommendation is just that we appoint commissioners as program liaisons. So I'll jump back a couple slides here. These are the areas of our service or our services that we chose last time. Obviously, we don't have to do that this time around, and can choose other areas if the commission has special interest in other areas of our operation. You know, what isn't listed here, because we didn't have it as part of our operations before, is our older adult services programs and our senior centers. So that could be another area that we have a commissioner or 2 assigned to as well. But I will leave that up to discussion from the commission, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have. And again, this could be another item that we you kind of think on and defer to next meeting, but I'll leave that to all of you.
Comments or thoughts?
Yeah, I have a comment. I think what was the last service you just said that we should add?
Oh, our older adult services or senior programs.
Yeah, I think we should add the senior programs just because it is a new aspect to Parks and Recs. I think it should be a priority in that list. So just kind of, I don't know, that's my thought on that. Hey, Nick, do you know if we're still offering taxes out of the adult service facility there?
We are, yeah. Project Scout is our community partner that we work with to offer that service, and they are helping people with taxes by appointment only. So you have to, I think, call ahead of time and grab an appointment. But they're still operating.
Cool.
I did have a question. So, like, I would definitely be interested in, like, say, the sports programs, but due to COVID, you know, that there might be some limitations regarding that. Would a commissioner be able to kind of help out into a different specific area during that time? Or are you just assigned to that specific one that you choose?
Yeah, I think you it'd really be up to the commission, but I would imagine that you know, you'd be welcome to be a liaison to any of our different services and whatnot, and provide feedback. You know, there's, I think, a possibility too to be assigned to more than one of these areas as well if you've got interest in several areas. So I think it's really up to the commission, and these are all just, I mean, you know, really kind of internal to the commission assignments. So I think they are kind of as big or small of a role as you as commissioners choose to make them.
Yeah, I think when we originally talked about this plan, we mentioned that we weren't limited to that specific area. That if we did want to, if we are really interested in sports, but then also really interested in facility rentals, that we could focus on that as well. I think what we just wanted to make sure is that all of our programs were covered, and that we had at least one person that could attend and really get to know those programs. So yeah, I don't think this is like a limiting list, but if anything, you know, it's just something to think about and to assign, you know, specific responsibilities.
Can we volunteer for programs? Or do we need to like vote if we're approving our positions?
I think that the last time we did this, we kind of created the list of program areas and liaison assignments, and then the commission voted to adopt the whole list.
Gotcha. Well, I know Noe said he's interested in sports. I would be interested in parks and older adult services. Kind of just want to go back to my roots and why I joined Parks and Recs, and, you know, grew up going to Callahan Park. Would love to just kind of see what's going on there nowadays and how that is all working out.
All right, I'm gonna just take some notes so that I have that here. Brando, you said parks and sports, is that what you said?
Parks and adult services.
Adult services, okay.
Yeah.
The other commissioners, do you guys feel strongly about certain programs or events over the other?
I would like to be involved with youth development programs.
Okay.
That was Vanessa, right?
Correct. And then, so Noah, you said sports programs, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vanessa, Brando, Araceli, is there something specific that looks interesting to you?
Specific, probably not. I'd like to learn a little bit of everything, but I can cover those areas that maybe somebody doesn't want to do, like special events, facility rentals. But I'd like to learn a little bit of everything, if that's okay also.
Okay. We don't have Frank with us. He hasn't joined back, has he?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And then we also have Carrasco, Jessica, not joining us today. So So yeah, so I think this list right now looks good. And then we'll give Araceli another month to kind of finalize, and then Frank and Jessica as well, the opportunity to be able to share their thoughts.
Great.
So can we keep these notes and then vote on it and make it official next month?
Yes, most definitely. I'll save these and I'll bring these back to the commission when we meet in March.
Perfect, sounds good. Well, it looks like we have plenty of homework to do until we meet next time. Are there any other questions, last comments or thoughts on this specific item or anything else we talked about? Frank, you joined us right on time. So we talked about, since you were gone, Frank, we talked about the last two items on on our agenda, the work plan and the commission liaison. So on our agenda packet, there's kind of a brief description of what they are. And what we decided to do is, instead of voting on these today, to think about it and then come back next month. See which one really interests us, see if there's any new projects that we might want to add, and then comment on which ones we would like to focus on for the next, for this year. So that's our homework. That's our homework for everybody.
Thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts? No? Well, if not, well, with that, I adjourn this month's meeting. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time. It's really good seeing you guys, and I look forward to getting to work together this coming year. All right, take care. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.